let's talk about that a little bit because you are exactly right. We sat on shows like this in July, and you and I actually did a preview in all kinds of weather, and we talked about our projections for the season and where we thought we would see the record shake out. And I thought Florida was going to get 8 wins, is what I had said. I in no way envisioned the 8 wins to happen in the course of the way that they did. Right? I would never have predicted Florida would have lost to Miami and Texas A&M, but then down the road beat LSU and Ole Miss. Let's talk about kind of the expectations for next season, though. I saw Napier said today there's only 3 guys left on this roster who were on the roster under Dan Mullen. So it is 99% his guys built his way. He's got to shine now at this point, right? He's got his quarterback. He has bet on himself in terms of play calling for this next season. Where do you think the bar is? Where does he have to hit next year to see year 5?
I think in order to have a successful season, get to year 5, and I think the expectation's got to be 8 or more wins. I mean, I think that's going to show real progression, real growth, and probably fighting for a playoff. I'm not saying to come back in 25. I mean, his seat is still warm for sure. I think if he can match that 8-win mark, probably in the regular season, an 8-4 or better, I think you're continuing to see growth in the program, especially if DJ Lagway's playing well, and you're seeing DJ Lagway progress. Because this, we even talked about it early in the season. Obviously, when they lost to Miami and lost to A&M, it was the debate of, do you want to start something new and potentially DJ Lagway walks, or do you want to give him the opportunity to build with his guy under center? There's no excuses. He's got his guy. And we saw those flashes with DJ. So, you look at the schedule, it's still going to be tough. Opening SEC play at LSU. The Miami game, once again, is going to be a game, I think, for Gator fans and just for Florida in general, that's going to be pivotal. You want to beat the Canes. It's at Miami, but they don't have a home crowd atmosphere, so that's not really that big of a deal. You're going to have big opportunities again with Texas, with Georgia, obviously in Jacksonville, that game against Tennessee. So, Allie, again, I know you know far better than I do in regards to what the pulse of the fan base, but I'd have to imagine if you're going 8-4 better, certainly if you're winning 9 games and you're knocking on the door of a college football playoff, I think you have to look at that as another positive step forward taken. 7-5, I would venture to say, if I had to guess, he'd still be back. You go 6-6 or worse, and I think he's gone. I just – at some point, right, you're because, again, there's no excuse to take a step backwards. There's no excuse for it. So I'd imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd think 8+ wins would have him safely back for another year.
I think so. And I do think the seat is much cooler today than it was even before the season started last year. I think that we can see the vision at this point, and we can see the growth in just, a half a season under DJ Lagway. I think one of the most impressive things has been the growth of the offensive line. Florida's going to start the season with a top 5 offensive line. And that was one of the massive question marks about Florida going into last season. That linebacking group is incredibly impressive. They've improved on the D-line. They've improved. It just overall, pretty much every group on the field has taken a step forward. I'm interested in particular in your thoughts on DJ Lagway. He's got top 5 Heisman odds, which obviously means nothing at this point. But, Vegas sees something too. It's not just Gator fans. He showed us flashes. What kind of step does he need to take this season?
Well, first thing on DJ Lagway's skill set, he's a top 5 quarterback in the conference easily, maybe in college football. I really, we'll do the whole, quarterback rankings thing going in the 2025 season. He's not going to be number 1 for me, certainly, but he's 2. He's 2 or 3. He's right there. And he could be 1 by season's end. He's got that kind of skill set, big arm. He's a load to bring down, can run the football. I think you saw a lot of the moxie and the leadership. I think continuing to have comfortability in the offense, continue to progress as a passer. I think you saw at times with him, young quarterbacks, some inconsistency there, but he's got it all. I really like when you build a quarterback in EA college football, like you build DJ Lagway. That's the kind of guy you create. So I think Trigger Man is going to be the furthest thing from Florida's problems. I think surrounding him with big time players and some other skill position guys and playmakers around him will be the bigger question. You mentioned, Allie, the offensive line. That was something they kind of battled throughout the 24 season. If they can shore that up, it's obviously going to be massive for them. But I believe in DJ Lagway as much as any quarterback in the conference. So again, for me, it's probably going to be Garrett Nussmeier at 1, and even that for the preseason, and even that, I feel a little icky about at times with the way he plays. But DJ Lagway is right there, and I think by season's end, I think we absolutely could be talking about him as the best quarterback in the conference. He's really, truly, is he going to win the Heisman? You need some other guys around you to ball out, and Florida probably needs to make the playoff. I'm not saying that's impossible, but he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks, I think, in college football this season. Could obviously be a all-conference guy, and if they do get to 9 wins or a playoff, that kid's going to be a big reason. I love his game. I love his game. He showed a lot coming in as a freshman. Some of the environments he played in and kept his composure. If you're a Gators fan, you got to be ecstatic about the future of your program with him under center.
Yeah, and his just even from the beginning of his recruitment, I feel like he has proven he wants to be in orange and blue. That's something that is important to Gator fans. They care that their players care about the uniform, and I'm sure he had lots of tampering this offseason, people trying to throw big bucks at him to come to their program, and the fact that he has stayed true to Napier, I think is a cool element to this story, and we don't have as many feel good stories in college football today, loyalty stories as we used to 10 years ago. So I think that helps as well.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a Billy guy. And I mean, I think, if you're Billy, if we were able to get him in a room and ask him, I'm sure you got to love that if you're Billy Napier. I mean, with all the pressure, he's not immune. He's a human. All the pressure he came in with last year, having your best player like truly in your corner like that, that's a huge shot in the arm for both sides and both parties. And so, yeah, I mean, it's, however Billy Napier works out, we'll see. But, I mean, if you're Billy, you'd have to imagine there's nobody else you'd rather go into battle with than that guy. I mean, it's, again, with his game and just the composure you mentioned, the kid loves Florida. I'm sure he wants to get Florida back to competing for national championships. Even if Lagway's not, you look at a guy like him, even if he's not the guy to necessarily hoist that trophy, he may be one hell of a guy to get into a place where he can pass it to the next guy, who then is the guy to win it all. I mean, I think we could look back in a few years and say, man, DJ Lagway was such a critical piece in this program getting back. He maybe didn't win the whole thing, but he took a Gators program that was just lost in the wilderness and at least got him back to a respectability where we're saying Florida and playoff in the same sentence, and it's not like a joke. I mean, he's that kind of player, that kind of impact on a program.
Yeah, I think you can look back in most programs and just point to a handful of people that are those program changers. And, Florida is hoping that will be DJ Lagway.